Hi there, my name is Kendrick, and today I have an awesome panel of all IPs to interview, and I'm gonna have everyone take turns introducing themselves first. So why don't we go with Klaus first? So Klaus, go for it, man.
Yeah, hello, my name is Klaus. I am an ISTP MF Ti-Se Consume Sleep Play Blast. And it's Caroline next.
Hello, I am Caroline. I am a double masculine INFP Consume Sleep Play Blast. And next is Tamara.
Yeah, hi. I'm Tamara, and I'm an INFP MF Fi-Si Sleep Consume Play Blast. And next is Julien.
Hi, my name is Julien. I'm a jumper ISFP, so that's Fi-Ni Sleep Consume Blast Play MF modalities, and I'll be throwing it to.
I'm Nathan. I'm an INTP masculine feminine Ti-Si Sleep Blast Play Consume. Yvonne.
Hi everyone, I'm an INTP double feminine, what am I? Consume Play Sleep Blast, and I'll throw it to Marco.
Okay, hi guys, good to see you all. So I'm an ISTP jumper, as it's called, which means it's Ti-Ni connectivity. Double masculine, consume last. What else to say?
Yeah.
Do I need to throw somewhere now, or what's the
yeah,
one?
give it to the, well, I think Shelby's next one, so.
All right, cool.
Okay, hi, I'm Shelby. I'm ISFP Audio Fi-Se Consume Play Blast Sleep Blast.
All right, awesome. So we got every single IP type here, which is fantastic. This is like this. I don't think this will ever happen again in history. So this is super cool. This is a good chance for all of you guys to ask questions to your fellow IP. And since everyone is here, all your fellow IPs, this is like any burning question you have, just ask away. All right. I have my own questions as well, but I want to ask you guys the questions first. We'll get you guys to ask the questions first. So why don't we jump into Nathan? So Nathan, you have some questions prepared to your fellow IPs. Go for it, dude.
Yeah, so the first thing I wanted to start with was this whole idea of identity. Since we lead out into the world with our identity first, with our identity function, I was curious how each of you experience that. So I know I'm kind of familiar with the TIs just because I am lead TI, but I wanted to hear from the TIs, like, and I'll preface it by saying, and I'm sorry for the blast here, but here it comes. Like I'm noticing more and more in the last few months just how much like my TI gets offended, so to speak, especially from TEs I work with at the clinic I work with. Yeah, and this guy right here, Kendrick. But so I'm curious as to how you see your TI or FI. I'm really interested in the FI too, because I've got at least one teenage daughter who I'm pretty sure is an FI, a lead FI. And just like, how do you feel? How do you see that identity getting hit or just leading you out, if that makes sense?
I think I don't fully understand this question, perhaps. I think I understand it somewhat, but just to get a bit more clarity,
Sure.
Are you speaking of a certain vulnerability where it comes to us leading with our identity and that being kind of like a point of exposure in the world? And when that gets touched, you know, in one way or another, how does that make us feel, whether it's negative or positive, or is there something?
Yeah, no, that way to succinctly break it down. So what do you see as your vulnerability as constantly using your identity function up front? So I'll give you an example. So for me, with TI, I've noticed more and more why I get upset at things. And it's either hitting my sleep function because my sleep plan gets ruined, or the way I choose to do things, or the manner in which I choose to do them, or the plan which I implement is usually based on a whole bunch of logical steps. So like at work, for example, I might go through, over this last year, I've basically created a new job. And so I've had to create a whole lot of things and a whole lot of processes. And so I go through thinking, okay, for me, logically, this is how it should work. And then we got this new ISTJ lady who comes in and just says, nope, here's what we're going to do. Here's what the standard is. Here's what the industry says, and just kind of obliterates that idea. Now, I know for other TEs, that could be just like, oh, okay, fine. Like, let's move on with this. But I know for me, it got me really frustrated and pissed off at times because I'm like, no, you're not seeing the bigger picture. I've been here 12 years. You've been here 6 months. Like, there's more to it than what you're just saying. And so like, she was just trampling and trampling and trampling. And it got really frustrating because she's just, well, she's also an IJ, so she's trying to control the whole show. But at the same time, I'm having to like try to be professional and not feel, I guess, offended, even though at every step of the way, she's just stomping on my ideas, which are tied to now my identity. And so I'm curious for the other TI, do you experience anything like that as well? And then for the FIs, you know, with your own personal values, likes, dislikes, and everything else, how do you feel like you get offended mostly with that lead identity function? I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, I definitely understand what you're saying here. And I could start off, yeah, I know you're more interested in the TI, but I can put a little bit of
both.
Perfect. Sounds good. Well, the FI spin, since I'm FI-NI, it's very kind of airy, I think. It's up in the air in a way, so it's hard to pinpoint. I think a lot of the time I avoid getting pain in that way because it's not a very substantial thing. But I'll give you an example. So this is a few years back, and I hold certain philosophies and beliefs. You know, I believe in Advaita Vedanta as a certain philosophy, and it may be even bordering on a sort of religion. It's not a religion, but it's in that sort of vein. And so I was talking to my brother about this, and he's more in the Christian vein, in a very like particular subsect of Christianity. And I was telling him about my beliefs and saying kind of like, oh, you know, like I got my beliefs, you got your beliefs, you know, like we'll just leave it at that, you know, very much NI personal, like these are my beliefs, you have your beliefs, we'll leave it at that. And he wouldn't drop it though. And he kind of like accused the beliefs that I have of being kind of demonic, and in particular, a guru that I listened to saying like, you know, like he could look in his eyes and see that he's demon possessed or something like that. And that really offended me for some reason. And I don't imagine it would offend a lot of people because it's just like, what, who cares? You know, like they're entitled to think what they want. But at the time, you know, and it was a very visceral experience where I might not logically have a reason for why I'm offended, but it's very much rooted in just an emotional response in that moment that I have to go and process later on. And I think in a more general IP situation, though, very recently, so my girlfriend, she's in Colorado right now, I'm in Canada. We're kind of like just visiting our families right now. And we're getting together in May, and she has some car problems, right, with her car. And I like to dabble a little bit with doing car repairs. And I asked her, what's wrong with your car? What needs to be fixed? And she gave me the list of what needed to be fixed. And I said like, oh, I could do a couple of those things for sure. And we're talking back and forth. And eventually she came to the point where she's like, oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable with you doing it. Like I might want to just have a professional do it. And that really offended me at the time, because I'm like, you say you trust me, you say you believe in me, but do you really? Like this isn't this full belief and trust, because I don't know if it's just like my own insecurity and my own desire to feel like I believe in myself. And if that's questioned by other people, then I have to question myself or what. But at the time, you know, it felt like it hurt my identity. And so that's what I had to say.
Yeah. And that's interesting because like if someone said, hey, I need some help with my car, and I offered, and then they said, no, I don't feel comfortable doing it, I'd be like, okay, more time for me. Like it wouldn't offend me. But if I go into like, here's how we should do it based on this, this, and this, and they said, no, that's totally wrong, now you got me.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I think from my perspective, that wouldn't get me, because I'm just like, oh, okay, I was just throwing an idea out there. Like, do you have a better idea? Like, let's go for it.
Right.
Yeah, for me as well, being lead TI, I would definitely resonate more with you, Nathan. Sorry, I'll try my best to blast here, by the way. I hope that God's blessed me today. But yeah, it's like, I just feel like with my TI, I don't really care as much about my TI in a work situation. Like if a TE tells me, okay, this is how we're going to do it, I don't really care. I think that's because I'm blast last. I kind of have low conscientiousness, so I don't care that much. But it's like when I've built up a strong opinion on something, and I've like really stacked my reasons for believing in this thing, and yeah, and then someone tells me, oh, it's wrong, or it's like stupid or whatever. Yeah, that definitely gets to me a lot. But I feel like as well I can be really stubborn when I've built up my reasons, like I've constructed my TI reasons for believing in something. But I've learned over time, like, to definitely be more humble, because there are often times like I'm not seeing everything, and my TI logic was wrong, and yeah, so it's good to just be like open-minded, I guess, in those situations, where your opinions or whatever are kind of like, yeah, under fire.
Yeah, right. Do you feel what happens when that happens? What's like the sort of like identity restructuring process kind of like for you, or like how do you undergo that kind of like transformation? What do you usually do when that happens? For TI, I
yeah,
suppose.
well, I can give like a personal example. So I was vegetarian for 4 years, and I was kind of like on and off vegan as well. And I was like, I just had such strong beliefs that it was just the best thing in the world, and it was, you know, I believed it was like the healthiest diet as well, and just like I believed all the morals behind it, and I still do think, you know, like there are morals behind it, but I just hadn't looked into the other side of the arguments at all, that like some people aren't able, or like they have to eat meat maybe for health reasons and stuff like that. And yeah, so if someone came at me saying like, oh, like at the time, like being vegetarian isn't like the right way to go about things, I would like really be stubborn and argumentative with them, which was annoying. But then eventually I did end up having to look into the other side of it, and I just like went into myself, I guess, when I was doing the whole like reconstructing of my TI in that way. And then yeah, I kind of like gathered more data from the other side of the argument and stuff like that. And then finally, when I felt like I had enough data, I guess, like, you know, and this new construct and new opinion, I was able to like present that to people, and definitely in a more humble way, where I wasn't like shovey on it, like masculine TI, like this is, you know, the correct logic or whatever. So yeah, in those instances, I would probably go into myself a bit and, you know, do that reconstruction process by myself, I guess. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And
Yeah.
so is it sort of like a lot of layers that you have to dig through, and is that, I
Yeah,
guess that's
because
kind of, yeah, you doing
yeah, you
sleep as
do
well,
over
so.
time. You just, I think like you just, yeah, you build up a lot of reasons, and if the foundation of the reasoning isn't correct, it's just like you have to tear the whole building down of your reasons, which is like tough, because yeah, your identity is kind of like your, for me anyway, it's like my opinions on things, and you know how well I'm able to like, yeah, reason and all of that. So yeah, it's like it's a whole reconstruction process. Yeah. What's it like
Yeah.
for FI? Do you have any experiences with that?
I mean, yeah. It kind of sucks. I don't know what it's like. It's just like, well, because I heard that other functions can be explained like NI at the top, right? It's almost like, the way I conceptualize it is like the NI is almost like a shield to their actual human form. Whereas like, and being an IP, it's like you are the shield. It's like everything hits you first before any other function, and you're like experiencing that as like this discombobulated identity, and then I guess that can just kind of feel weird. And like today something happened which was offensive. I bought a vacuum cleaner for the house, and I didn't know if I bought the right one. So like, you know, I gonna get like nervous about that stuff, and I'm like testing the tribe, like, oh, hey, so I bought the vacuum cleaner and it only lasted 10 minutes. Do you think that's normal? The battery died. And they're like, it sounds like a shitty design. And then I was so sad. I was like, oh, fuck, I researched this thing. I thought it was gonna work. And then I don't know. It was a combination of like the NF being ruined, and also like the my ST being bad, and me. Yeah, then it like takes like directly onto like, you know, me, and I just like,
yeah, especially when you feel like you've put time into it, like you did the research and yeah, and then just realizing that like, yeah, it wasn't like the best vacuum cleaner.
yeah,
Yeah, use that analogy for everything.
yeah.
I love your feminine FI, Caroline. It's so it's you know, you don't normally hear feminine FI, so it's interesting.
Oh, what about, oh, okay, that's interesting. Okay, that actually does make sense to me, but I'm just gonna say that makes sense. Okay, cool. Does that explain the question? Does someone do you want to go, Marco?
Yeah, why not?
Feminine TI, here we go.
Yeah, okay. I mean, I think my biggest problem is I don't get offended enough. I'm in my own little castle and nobody's challenging me, and haven't been doing it for a long time. Like I've been a professional gamer for close to my whole life, actually, like 20 years. So my only feedback loop for when my TI is wrong is through competition. That's my feedback loop, essentially. But in my day-to-day life, I'm very good at creating an environment where nobody gets to challenge me, you know. So that's not the best, I guess. But and I'm very conscious about it. So whenever I do have a situation occur, I notice it for sure. And it's like even like minor things, and it's like, okay, I just let it slide, but I know I'm offended, you know.
I think with TI as well, for me anyway, like sometimes you don't share it that quickly because it is your identity. Like you don't share what you've like constructed in your head. Yeah, so we have it in the background going on, but we don't tell people, like just, yeah, to like keep our, like as a protective mechanism almost sometimes.
Well, and I think too, it's hard because I was having a conversation with almost my twin type, he's double masculine. But we were talking about this, and to explain the TI, to really explain it, my first question to anyone when they say, well, what do you think about this, is always, well, how much time do you have? Because like I can't explain this in like 2 or 3 sentences, you know, or in minutes. I need to put the base up and then go from there. And so yeah, it is. In being blast, like I want to explain it, but I've also learned over time I just can't, like I don't have time. And
it goes so deep sometimes. Yeah,
it really does.
Yeah.
And so to just take a piece of that, it's like a Jenga, you know, tower, just to take a few pieces out and say, here's what it is. It's like, no, can't. Got to build the base.
Well,
and also like sometimes, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's fine. What I would say is like, instead of even trying to explain my TI, it's just like, what am I trying to achieve here? And usually it's just diplomacy, right? So it's just saying the right things so the FE is good, so everything's vibing, right? And I'll deal with myself later, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the FE definitely comes into it as well. Like, because so yeah, sometimes your TI goes like too deep in a certain way, and it's like you almost feel like if you just went like told everyone what your TI was, you might get it might be misunderstood, or you know, you might get rejected for it or something like that. So yeah, it like maybe we keep it to ourselves because of that too sometimes.
Even worse, like, do they even care? Like,
yeah, do they even care? Yeah,
you know, it's really, it's only personal important to you, but the audience usually don't care that much. So it's just like sticking to what matters in the moment, you know, and work with it.
Yeah.
Well, they might just want the TE, to be honest. If they're asking you for how you do something or what your logic is, they might just be asking like, no, I don't care about how you built it up. I don't care about the foundation or what's underneath or anything like that. Just tell me how you use it so that I can use it, so that I can do my job faster.
Yeah. The problem I found is, like, this happened again this morning. My wife and I were trying to go over our budget for the month because we've been really crunched in the last couple months from just life. And as we're going over the budget, just trying to figure out how to actually put everything down into the budget, like, can't do it. Her TE, because she's a TE, a masculine TE, and even though it's demon, it's just like, no, I've got it. Let's just do it this way and make it happen. And I'm like, it doesn't compute for me. And so for years, and years, we've struggled on the budget, and anymore I'm just like, you do it, you give me the numbers, and then I'll say yes or no, because we just can't.
It's just easier that way.
Just easier that way.
Yeah.
The FD is satisfied by just saying you do it, and then
Yeah.
That's what came up for me when you asked the question. Like the word compromise came up for me, and like it can be quite difficult. It's like an all or nothing thing. Like, yeah, this other thing that came up as you were speaking was like, it's a serious business, this identity thing. And then it can be like, it's like, I want to do it by myself, or you do it. It's like there's this black and white thing. Like it's either, yeah, I want to be in control and make the decisions, or it's like, yeah, it feels like almost like, I mean, I've noticed this for myself, like a fear of losing myself when I give too much permission to other. And yeah, that other can be any number of things, like relationships, like, yeah, there's this, I think they talked about it in a class. JPC is like this fear of, yeah, for I think that's a common thing for all us IPs, like this fear of losing yourself in something else. And that can be a thing, a person, like, I mean, that's how I experience it.
I feel the same way, except I think that I've rooted that down to lack of communication. Just from my own experience, I find that all these problems of identity and such is just, I'm not communicating, I'm not willing to communicate. And so instead of communicating, either I get wrapped up and I feel like I'm losing a sense of self in the situation, or I step back and disassociate and then preserve my sense of self through that way. And then, but at the end, it's like, well, if I just communicated and I communicated clearly, then I could have maybe avoided this. But it's so difficult, man. Even having blasts, it's like, it's not about communicating that kind of thing. It's about communicating who I am, which is a vulnerability, right? As us IPs experience.
Yes. So I find a similar thing, like, you know, we're in that kind of state as like an FI of being like in this tumultuous disassociative place, and then like the answer maybe being to say something, but not going to do that because it's already so just like raw, your heart, and like saying that out loud is kind of like, oh, what the fuck, like I don't want feedback on this, I just want it to like stop feeling like this. I don't know.
I think that's what can,
yeah,
sorry, even, yeah. I was just going to say that can definitely cause a disconnect with the tribe sometimes, like as Julien was saying, how important communication is. Like sometimes we're just not, like, I don't know, we just think like maybe people won't get us or understand us or whatever, and it's just like, yeah, it causes a distance or whatever, just because we have that fear of, I don't know, like vulnerability, I guess. Yeah.
And also there's like, and I don't know, I feel like self-conscious saying this, but it's like there's so much DI, so it's like, and then communicating all that. I mean, I notice it just like there's so much I want to, like that's the last struggle for me. There's so much I want to communicate, and then it's like I communicate, and afterwards I feel like, oh, that was about 10% of what I feel like I have inside that could be brought out, but it's like it's hard, and then I feel rushed, and then I'm like, okay, now I'm talking too much, and there's all these things happening, and then it's like,
it's too relatable.
Well, and
yeah, and then
go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, well, I was just going to ask, because we got like 1, 2, 3, well, yeah, 3 blast lasters. Like one of the things I struggle with is like my TI really wants to take over and take control and not necessarily share the identity. You know, it's because it's the lead function, and I'm double activated on my blast, which means my FE is constantly wanting to seek that tribal validation, which is frustrating for me. Because it's like I almost and I was going to ask Marco how you feel about this, even though I know you said you kind of have created a situation where you don't really need a whole lot of tribe interaction, maybe because you're a pro gamer or whatever. Yeah. But since you're double activated on your blast as well, I'm curious as to what you think. But that tribal validation is constantly struggling especially since it's double activated against a single activated TI, which is in control and in lead. It feels like it just gets trampled on all the time by the tribe, because the tribe needs are almost trumping, and I almost have to feed that FE more than I have to feed the TI.
So what's your question?
The question is, do you experience that yourself, Marco? And then for you blast lasters, do you feel that at all?
It's a good question. I feel I'm very selective in what I choose. That's how I feel it. And what do you call about the validation? I'm filtering what my blast gets to say, in a sense. Does that make sense to you?
No, I see what you're saying. I'm curious. Are you married? Do you have a family? Or are you single?
I'm single. I'm single by myself. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I'm married with 6 kids and a dog.
Okay.
So I'm surrounded by tribe all day long.
Okay, so you have a lot of ping pong. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a lot of ping pong, and then I'm at work and I'm a manager, so I have 3 people under me, and then I work with the nursing. I work with a lot of people. I'm constantly around the tribe. So it's sometimes I wish I wasn't, but it is what it is.
Do you feel that like the need for tribe validation trumps your need to be like a unique individual, or like what it like?
Sometimes.
Yeah. For me as a blast laster, of course I do like, to feel significant, and I do like validation, but I don't like it's not something I feel like is constantly, like I don't feel like my FE is constantly in battle with my TI. Like my TI wins every day. Yeah, and I think as well, with my family, we're all pretty DI. Like we all kind of look out, like we will help each other, if anyone needs help, but we all kind of are very independent at the same time, and we kind of expect ourselves to look out for ourselves, so but then you get into the world, and then you realize that, like, there are EJs and stuff like that, and they would have certain expectations of you, and which isn't a bad thing. It's just different to, I guess, what you're used to. I don't even know where I was going with that, sorry. But yeah, no, it's just like I don't feel the FE like is like in conflict. But I think like knowing my type as well, I'm definitely like consciously trying to do the FE more, and especially since my blast is SF, that's kind of like doing things for people. Like I'm just gonna like battle with myself to like strengthen that if I can, and just like, yeah, to be present with people in the moment, and feeling the vibes and all that stuff. So yeah.
So can we hear from Shelby and Tamara about like the original question?
Yeah, no, I'll jump in because I'm double activated tribe too. And so I really relate a lot to what you're saying, Nathan. Like, I mean, I so much feel the need for the validation and that I am serving the DE, but at the end of the day, the FI still wins, but I'm constantly pinging because I'm double activated play, sleep blast. So I'm just constantly like SETE all day, like wondering, logicking out with other people, but I'm not doing it with other people. It's mostly just with myself, but wondering how to do stuff. Is this the right thing to do? Like, how does this work? So not so much with the FE, because I don't have FE, like that's definitely a blind spot. Like, I don't know how other people, other values, like I'm learning a lot just listening to y'all, seeing what you're talking about, but yeah, that's definitely a struggle.
Tamara?
Yeah, I can jump into as a blast last. So can you tell me the question again, Nathan?
So just with your DI,
yeah,
how do you feel like that tug of wars with your DE, if at all? Because I mean, I know there's always that tension being an IP. It's just going to be there. But since you're blast last, I'm just curious how much of a tension you actually feel between those two. Like I'm like Yvonne. At the end of the day, the TI for me, the DI is going to win out. But for me, there's also always that struggle of like, there's this FE that feels at times almost equally as strong as my TI, and those two are just constantly doing this. And so I'm curious, like, how do you feel that, or is it just completely different since you're not double activated on your DE?
Well, I think you're a glass lizard, right? If you're an IP with consume last.
Yeah.
So you're not going to be the typical IP. You're going to have that FE activated a lot. Whereas I'm like, yeah, super IP. I'm like embarrassingly much FI. So it's like, yeah, it's huge and like masculine, and in my first two animals. So it's like, it's there all the time, and it's so like obvious to me, and it has taken me a long time to realize like that I like whatever I do, whatever I see, I make some kind of value judgment immediately if do I like this or not. So I get a feeling like a vibe, and subconsciously I think it influences my decisions. Whereas TE, it's right in the bottom and it's small. So I guess it's like if you live in a house and you have this really dark basement, and you know it's there, and you know there are some useful stuff in there, but it's like it's really dark and it's really cold and you don't have electricity or anything, so you rather not go there unless you have to maybe bring someone in who knows things about basements. Yeah, so I guess I'm on the IP spectrum. I'm like very far from Nathan. Like you're on one end and I'm on the other. Whereas I guess like Caroline with her feminine FI, maybe it's different for you. Like maybe that you have that stronger T pull. I don't know, which I lack.
Maybe. I mean, I'm not sure. Maybe I don't really know how it works as much, but I mean, people thought that I had feminine TI at the top for some reason in the community a lot, but I don't know. I think that's just backwards explaining my FI kind of with T. So maybe I do that. And I will just start to maybe make up some ST, but it's actually NF. I'm not sure if that makes sense.
But how do you how do you experience your feminine FI on top? Like it's on top, but it's being pulled down by the T, right?
Yeah. So feminine FI at the top. Well, I feel like I am pretty FI. Like that's pretty clear. I mean, I have someone who's a double decider commenting about how FI I am, and just in like human words, and I'm like, yeah, I know. Sometimes it's just like, I don't know, I feel like not that I can't think, but like just vibing, and like and so yeah, like maybe with the T, it's like I experienced a double masculine ST kind of like that is what that's what I will have standards for. Like I'll have standards for the ST, and then I'll like go around and like slowly raise the ST standards. And I feel like if the ST is at a certain base level, then I can function at a certain base level consistently. I don't know if that makes sense, but maybe that's how the T comes more into it. But yeah, I can definitely flow. I'm not really sure. Maybe.
I ask you, Caroline, with your masculine TE, do you have like a radar for bad ideas? Because I feel like with my feminine TE at the bottom, I don't have a radar for that very much. And like I can get swept up in some really bad ideas for a while until someone else like, that's a what are you doing? Like,
Yeah. No, yeah, I did do the exact same thing, except I feel like I do still differentiate between good and bad ideas, but like there's certain spectrums of stupid that I still haven't experienced. And so sometimes I will do the stupid thing and then I'll be like, oh, okay, that was the bad thing to do, you know? But I don't know. I feel like, for example, like, I suppose it also depends. Let me get my thoughts straight. Like, for example, like, you know, like changing the washing machine here at the house, I could see that it was a good idea to not pay for a plumber because I A, didn't want to, and B, looked it up and it was so like a very easy fix. So I was like, I'm not going to call a plumber. But I knew it was a bad idea to ask my roommate fully before I fixed it and perhaps fucked it up. I don't know, but that was only because, sorry, I'm going on a consume ramble here. I need to get to the point. The point is, I think I'm more judgmental of ideas on the front end, potentially, and then I get convinced easily into them. Something like that. I don't know. I don't know.
right, that makes sense. I think where I was coming from is just like I'm almost the opposite, but if somebody comes to me really confidently, like they have an idea and they're like, we're gonna do it this way and this is how we're gonna do it, I'll be like, oh yeah, let's do it like that. Like it's more like getting swept up with the tribe logic rather than logic in general. When it's more of a conversation, I'll be more skeptical and think like, I don't know about that idea. If I can like sit back and be like an armchair diagnosing the logic behind it. But if it's in the moment and someone comes up and they're like, all right, this is how we're going to do it, let's do it. Then I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's try it out. And it'll only take me a long time before I realize like, this was actually a bad idea. Like, why did we do this? So is that what you're saying? Like you are more capable of realizing if someone comes up to you with an idea that it's a bad idea with masculine TE, or is this just like, am I just talking about it?
Oh, I think this is a good question. I think it's more based around the double masculine ST, I would say, because that can just get pretty immovable. If there's something motivated by like my FI, I would say. Sorry, my laptop's about to die. But yeah, I would say that I feel very like, I don't know, I would use TE in a selfish way. So I don't even know if it's TE actually, if you know what I mean. It's like me using my FI as a motivator. Oh, that looks too hard. What if we did it this way? Then it would be actually easier for me and perhaps you as well. It's like that, more like on the front end, because I don't know, I just don't want to go completely along with it, I guess, because then it might be too much work and we did it a stupid way, when if we just double observed in the front, then we would have been fine. I don't know if that makes sense. Yeah.
Okay, guys, so let's go shift gears a bit here. So I want to ask you guys about your EJ swing. So all IPs are pretty much EJs as well. Like you guys go on a swing, right? And David Chan calls it like, okay, like that's why it's better now to label people as like deciders and observers, because you know, like EPs are also IJs and IJs are also EPs. So you guys are also EJs and you guys have an EJ swing. And you know, with EJs, things that happen for EJs like, you know, self-loathing, you know, needing permission, and you know, not feeling like they're enough. So all the stuff, like, do you guys experience this swing yourself? And what does it look like when you do experience this kind of swing? Does anyone want to start?
That was actually, oh, go ahead.
No. Yeah, just like we're talking about with the double activated tribe. I mean, I feel this all the time. And I was wondering about the idea of permission, because I feel that a lot all the time. And I thought it was, just a savior play thing. I think, Yvonne, you're the only other savior play here. So I don't know if you feel that, or if that's just like the double activated DE side that Nathan and Marco might relate to as well. But yeah, I feel like I need permission to do my DI. I always know my DI, and I think that's the difference between an EJ. Like, I always know what I want, what I like, but like, am I actually going to do it or seek it out? That's the question.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I was going to ask that question, Kendrick, about the swing. Yeah, for me as well, it's like I do know my DI definitely, but I'm not double activated on my DE. So it's not as strong, like I don't feel as strong of a need maybe for permission. Like I'm probably very stubborn and like I've masculine NT as well. So I just think sometimes that like I know exactly what to do and everything. But then it's like, what happens is, if you go too intensely on your DI, which can happen, it kind of like you cause a disconnect or whatever. And then I think that's what causes the swing sometimes, because you realize maybe, oh shit, like I've gone down, like I've been focusing too much on my DI here. Like, let me like go and start like doing things for the tribe. But in relation to confidence and stuff, and self-loathing, I completely get that as well. I think like, especially having masculine DI, you can just set such high standards for yourself. And if you don't meet those self standards, you just lack confidence and whatever. I don't know if you guys have that same experience where, like, because I know in my own life, my confidence has just been like a roller coaster, like just up and down. Especially if I'm not reaching the standards I set for myself. Yeah, and then I guess I go into the EJ way of like maybe having low confidence, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100% agree.
For me, like when you talked about permission, Shelby, what came up is like, I don't need any permission to do my DI, but I need permission to show it. Like, I do what I want. I am a mope. I'm like single activated tribe. I have always done what I wanted to do. I've never really, I've asked other people, but that doesn't really change much what I want to do. And I just, like, action-wise, the tribe is not that much on board. But what I've learned in recent years is like, I can actually show that, and that doesn't offend people. Like, I guess my baby FE is really scared of offending people. And for me, that's like so intense that like the things I'm doing could potentially be offensive to people. So I don't tell them what I do. Like, I hide myself, I do the things by myself, and I don't tell anyone what I'm doing exactly. And like the game changer was to actually just show more of myself. I'm an IP, so there's lots to show. And then I'm getting like, but that's maybe too confident or something. But masculine TI at the top is quite confident, and it's like, yeah, and then it's like just the permission to just show all of that. And then also the tribe is coming back or appearing for the first time. Like, it's like, yeah, it was, for me, it was like upside down. I didn't like look for my tribe. I just followed my interests, and then some mini tribes appeared that I actually feel like I want to be part of, or not, and not like, yeah, like it's like using the DI, follow that, and then the tribe appears, the mini tribes that I like, and then getting people on board with that almost naturally happens. Yeah.
Yeah, I really relate to that as well. Yeah.
Oh, go ahead. Who's talking? Shelby? Oh, okay. So yeah, same, like I found in the last couple of years, I might have fallen maybe more into the EJ swing. So I feel like just as life has gotten more stressful. And so I feel like sometimes I'm seeking permission from the tribe to do the DI thing, even though at the end of the day, I do the DI thing anyway, kind of like you were saying, Klaus. But every once in a while, it's like, oh, am I really? And I only say this again because I've got so many people around me constantly, especially in my home, because I've got the 6 kids. I gonna screw up my just shape or form. And most of the time, it's simple things like I'm gonna go work out, in the garage, and you're not going to see me for the next hour. And if you need me, I'll be in the garage. So come bug me out there, but don't take away my workout time. Even though at times I feel like, oh, maybe I shouldn't because of, so sometimes it gets a little bit, it's been more like that lately, but in the past I've noticed just going out and doing my DI, like Klaus was saying, you kind of find you find your tribe out there somewhere over time, as long as you're confident in doing that.
I want to add on a little bit to what Nathan is saying here, and just wonder if this idea about superseding, I forgot what the word, it's kind of like, what I'm trying to say here is that we have to give ourselves permission to do something. It's like the standard IP thing is that we have to give ourselves a permission to do something, or like we give our own standards. That's the word I'm trying to look for, superseding standards. So it's like, maybe for you, Nathan, your standards are more like, I have to be there for my family and I have to be a strong role model for my family. And so when I go do a DI thing, the first DI standard that you've created for yourself is I have to be there for my family. And that supersedes the second DI standard of I want to do this one thing for myself right now. And I feel like that a lot of my life happens to me as well, where it's like I've created a standard for myself where I want to be there for the people who are close to me. And so if I'm off doing something that's just purely for myself, then even if it is for myself, I created a standard for myself that involves doing something for someone else, which sounds confusing and complicated, but it supersedes that. And then I start feeling bad about doing that thing for myself, even though they're both really for myself. It's just I've created one as a higher standard than the other thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. And especially being lead double activate or lead double masculine ST sleep, like that's where I push constantly. Like I'm constantly pushing on my S and my T all the time. And if I'm going to do something, it's got to clear that bar first. And you're right. Like part of probably feeling like I need the permission is coming from changing reasons. Like I need to be there for my family. I need to do this, that, or the other. I need to make sure my wife's taken care of and she's not getting overstressed, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't feel like making it work out right now, even though my ST standard for the last 20 years has been, no, get out in the freaking garage and go work out. So yeah, there's been that kind of changing DI over time, which for me really does take years, because my masculine TI, unless I can prove myself wrong, doesn't like to change at all.
Marco, you wanted to say something?
Who? Me or which one? Can you hear me?
Yeah. We're talking about the EJ swing, like, self.
Yeah. I have it a lot actually. I mean, even though I'm single and so forth, I do take care of a tribe. I have quite a tribe under me and a lot of people depending on me, like a lot of investors. I had 2 dogs. I live together with my cousin. We run a household, we run a company as well. So I constantly feel like I'm raising the bar to where we all need to be at every day when it comes to diet, it comes to meal plan, it comes to fitness, when it comes to mental health, etc. Like you set the bar all the time. And when I'm not reaching those levels, I beat myself up, of course. So I get to feel it almost daily, I mean, that beat up, because every day I keep putting the bar higher and higher.
Yeah, same with me, Marco. It's like you unconsciously trick yourself into thinking, when I reach this new standard I've set for myself, I can finally be confident in myself and, be happy, and I can present myself to the tribe, as this incredible, person or whatever. And then you just never reach that point. Like you just keep setting the bar higher and higher, and yeah, and you don't ever give yourself credit for, how far you've come already, so I think that's where the fluctuating confidence comes into it, and that's why I really like the EJ sentiment of just, that we are all worthy of, being loved, and, just because we exist, and, we don't need to have this incredibly built up DI to be worthy to the tribe, like we can, just be worthy by like, being part of the tribe and, doing some DE and all of that. So yeah.
Very true. Yeah. Doing DE really does put things into perspective for you. you just start to feel like an adult, right, too, because I don't know, then you're not doing your FI, and then your friends over there sitting doing FI while you're doing TE, and you're like, am I doing my demons? I don't know. I made someone T. Is that doing TE? I'm not sure. Anyway. But totally, like, with the standards consistently being raised and raised and raised, there's this like saying that I don't know where it's from, but it seems to relate to this. It's like lower your standards so that you can raise them, because like if you have these standards which are like impossibly high, it's like, how are you ever going to meet those standards?
Yeah. And you can make yourself miserable as well. I don't know if this is just a TI thing where we shoot ourselves in the foot, you know, like not knowing, like we're not as connected to our emotions, I guess, and what makes us like emotionally happy. But yeah, there have been times in the past where even if like just a situation in general didn't meet my standards, I was like, it was either all or nothing, where yeah, if it didn't meet those standards, I was just going to completely like withdraw from it, which doesn't bring emotional happiness, obviously. Like let's say, you know, when I, just a random story, but when I first started college, you know, I had built up this expectation in my head, like, oh, you know, college is like they're going to be the best years of my life, and you know, I'm going to meet my tribe and all this, you know, stuff. And then it's like you get in there and it just like smacks you in the face, and it's like a smack of reality, and it's not what you expected it to be, I guess. And if you don't like immediately like meet your people or whatever, then it's like you just withdraw from, like for me anyway, I withdrew from the whole situation, and I didn't really bother like trying to, like, I don't know, going to the social events and stuff like that. And I became really miserable because of that, you know, instead of just like saying to myself, okay, you know, you don't have it all figured out, like get to know people bit by bit, and you know, I'm sure everyone's on the same boat, you know, people aren't going to come out of their shell immediately. So just, yeah, give everything a chance, and you know, yeah, be appreciative of the small things in life as well. It doesn't, yeah, exactly, like just everything doesn't have to be like amazing for you to be happy. Like you can literally just be grateful for the small things. So
yeah, with any as well, it feels like that, trying to appreciate the present moment and the little things, not the present moment, but more like the current reality, I guess. Yeah.
Well, how I feel about it is also that I like to build myself all the time and just tear myself down, like let myself self-destruct and kind of have fun with it, you know. I guess it's a sleep last thing. I don't know if you can relate, Nathan, but I just like to create an identity, reach it, and just, you know, okay, I did, and then look at it and have fun, you know, and don't take it too seriously, and give yourself a break, because you will fail eventually, you know, and then you build another one, and you go to your standards, to your max, you fail, and then you look at it and okay, but it's part of the fun, you know, keep developing and doing the EJ swing, I guess.
Yeah, I do the same thing, like with weightlifting. Like I said, I've been weightlifting for 20 years, and so you're constantly literally setting the bar, right? And you keep going up and up and up, and what I found, especially looking back on the last 20 years, it's like, man, this has been a lot of fun. In this one, you know, piece of my life, I'm trying to be able to extend that out into other avenues, like being able to do that with all my kids, because they're, you know, all the way from 14 down to 2, and you know, with my job and everything, and because I know I can do good or do really well and set the bar higher and higher, but because it's tribe associated, it's a little bit harder for me to want to set that bar and then meet it and then set it and meet it. It's like I know I need to do it. But because it's not involving just me, it's involving others too, it just gets harder.
What about Tamara and Julien? I don't think you guys spoke.
Yeah, I was about to say, like when we talked about this, I thought about another thing, like setting high standards and everything. But for me, I've noticed, like, it's not always about setting a high standard, but just setting like a unique standard, feeling like well, I have to, if I'm going to contribute to the tribe, then I have to contribute in a way that only I can, or maybe just a few people can. Like, it's not enough if I just help people with I don't know, if I just become a teacher or something. But I feel like well, every time I've gone through something like difficult or bad, like I'm thinking about, okay, well, how can I use this? Maybe I could help like other people. Maybe I could like write a book or something, or maybe that's just some grandiose FI idea. I don't know, but I don't. It has gone away a little as I gotten older, but it's still something like okay, but I have to find out like what I can contribute. Otherwise, like a certain part of my life would just be a waste. I don't know if that makes sense to anyone.
I do relate to that, Tamara. I've experienced that a lot in my life as well, where it's kind of like you want to find this grandiose thing that you can do that can make the world a better place, but at the same time, I've also come to the realization, and I don't know if this is a personal realization or if it's true across the board, that by doing this, all I'm doing is really just spending more time in my sleep DI, and I'm not actually helping anyone. And I don't know if other people experience problems with decision making, but I struggle with decision making so much. So like I can spend so much time planning and trying to think about what is this thing, what is my unique contribution to the world, and then I might land on something and be really excited about it and start pursuing it for a little bit, and then a couple months in, I'm like, nah, that wasn't it. That can't be it. And then go shift into another gear, and then years pass, and what have I really accomplished? What have I contributed to the world? But just upgrade myself, which is not a bad thing. You know, at the same time, it's not bad that we're upgrading ourselves and doing things for ourselves, because I find that, or I think at least, that what happens is that we eventually just contribute anyways. Like we find people that we care about. We as we take on more responsibility in this world, we can't help but contribute to people around us, because as we have more responsibility, we have more things to take care of. And when it is our responsibility, then we have to be the ones looking after it, and that affects the people around us in a sense. And I don't want to speak like I know anything, because I'm probably younger than a lot of people here. Nathan strikes me as somebody who knows a lot about the DI progression and experience in life. He's got 6 kids. I mean, like, I don't know how he can do that, but kudos to that man. But ultimately, I see you with your monster drink, yeah, for sure, man. A lot to get.
I know what you're talking about. Like, I think one of the great things about being a is that what you're saying. Like, I gotta change the world in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's making something useful.
Hold on, guys. Whose dog is that?
That's mine. Sorry. Yep.
Can I mute you for now? I'll just mute you for now. Okay. Sorry, Nathan. Go ahead.
Oh, that's fine. So yeah, I think the great IP mystery is just figuring out how we can make that impact to the world, value wise, or just, you know, useful wise. And I think the great secret to that is what you're saying, actually, and that is you don't change the world, you're just changing yourself, and then just the people around you. And what I've learned is that the more I can accept that, like I can SF control some things in my family, because I've got that SF blast, and do things and create memories. And for example, one thing I do every Sunday, with a few exceptions, like this upcoming Sunday's Easter, so it'll be a little different, but most Sundays I make baguette bread. We have a charcuterie board, and we sit around the table, and that's our one day of the week where it's like, I don't care what you think you're going to be doing, we're sitting down at the table and we're going to have bread. And I get the tribe like, shut up, I don't want to do this is dumb, why do we always have to have bread on Sundays? I'm like, I don't care, sit at the table and do it. And what I found is, over time, the kids, sometimes if we skip a Sunday, they're like, Dad, when are we going to do bread again? Dad, I miss the bread. Dad, can we do this, that, or, you know? And so now I'm starting to make ends with my kids, and even with my wife who loves it. And now we have this tradition, and I was able to attack the tribe, even though it's a tribe of 8, in a positive way, rather than thinking I need to go all the way out to the world.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking too. Yeah.
I'm wondering if this is like a sleep thing, because I'm not spending my time wondering about my contribution to the world. Like, I'm just out like doing things. I'm just not really like thinking about that. I do think about it on the back end, and like, I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, I do want to bring something, but like, I don't know if other non-sleep people relate to that or not. What do y'all think?
I think you're the only sleep last here, Shelby.
Well, I know that, but if you're not sleep first, like, do you relate? Is that something you spend a lot of time thinking about?
What do you think you spend your time doing in place of that? Like, instead of thinking to yourself, like, what can I contribute to the world? Like, what is most of your attention going toward, like, instead, do you think?
A lot of it is going towards like doing stuff, but I guess it's worrying about, I'm worrying about tribe's perception a lot.
Yeah. People processing, yeah.
Right, processing like what's going on, but it's not necessarily like, what can I do or bring? Like, that's a part of it, but not exactly.
By the way, earlier, so I stole Yvonne's question. So Yvonne, if you have another one, let me know. Otherwise, I can pass it to someone else to ask the next question.
Okay, maybe I have another one. I'll like pull one out of somewhere. Yeah, I was wondering about, okay, maybe this is like too deep of a question to go straight to like childhood, but like as IPs, we feel different, I guess. Like when we're maybe growing up, we start realizing that we feel that way. Like, and does anyone have like want to share their experience with that? Like, and how did they cope, or how did they try to maybe adjust themselves, to fit in more? I don't know. Yeah, if anyone wants to like answer that, it's like probably too deep or something, but
I'll go there. I remember as a kid, just being so self-assured and self-confident with my lead TI, I didn't care. And so if I pissed people off because I did something or said something or whatever, it's like that FE wasn't quite turned on yet, even though I'm double activated on it. But it didn't matter, because I was so self-confident that if you disagreed, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, go away, I'll do my own thing. And it wasn't until I became an adult that started to kind of flip around, and I started realizing, oh, my actions have consequences potentially to other people. And it's not that I was ever wanting to hurt intentionally other people. Like, never been my intent to hurt physically or emotionally anyone else. I just know that as I got older, and especially as I got married, my FI wife, was able to kind of rein that in and check it for me, and make me realize, oh, maybe I do have a tone, even though all growing up, I never thought I had a tone, So yeah, when I was a kid, I did my own thing, and that was fine. And I had no issues with that. It never gave me any very rarely did it give me any problems.
Even when you were like in it, like a teenager then, because you get all, well, maybe I'm projecting here, but like, yeah, you start getting more self-conscious, I guess. And like, did it affect you in teenagehood either, or? No?
Maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm becoming a little bit more aware of it. But even as a teenager, I remember thinking, like, I'm doing my thing. My thing is awesome. So if you're not on board with it, I don't care. And my friends, because of doing the TI thing, all my friends looking back were probably TIs or just TEs that had the same interests, kind of like Klaus was talking about. You do your thing, you find your tribe. And because we were all kind of doing the same thing, it didn't matter. Like, we all just got along and it worked. But yeah, like I said, I can't think of any times. I know I can't think of one or two times, but generally speaking, no, it was not an issue for me. And because I had my life pretty well aligned, because I had my ST sleep like aligned for the next 10 years. Like I was just following my plan, so it just all worked out.
I don't want to change the question so we can get back to this, but I'm wondering if this is like a consume issue. Because you have consume
Probably.
last and like that you're not aware of others' perceptions of you in that way. So we can continue your question, Yvonne, but I do want to get back to the
I can kind of answer that. I think as someone who has consumed but also relates to Nathan, in early childhood, I just thought I was the coolest kid ever, to be honest. Like I just thought I was the coolest. And then I went to high school and I realized I wasn't the coolest and I was decidedly unpopular. But at the same time, I still thought that I was like cooler than the cool kids because I was real and they weren't, you know? And I had my small group of friends and we all did the same thing together, like Nathan's talking about. And we were all uncool, but we were cool because we were real about it and we were honest, while that the other kids didn't have going on. And so in that way, you always feel like you're the top shit, even if you're not. And it took me later into my 20s to be able to see the spectrum and to see, like, I'm not landing anywhere on the spectrum. Like I suck everywhere. So like, what am I talking about? And then to like try to build myself back up from that point onwards.
Yeah, no, Shelby, to get to your question, because I think the two are kind of related. Consume last for sure. Like and I've gotten way better at the consume, and my wife has helped me see those areas where I'm faulting or lacking and need to consume more. So that's been a good kind of check for me. But yeah, I mean, if like now I can definitely say something, and if I can see that it's affecting you, like I'll take that in and realize, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said something. But on autopilot still, like I get this from a lot of people, not just my wife, and that's you know, why were you so mean the other day? And I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I'm not taking it in. I was telling you what I thought, and there was no bad intentions there. There was no bad emotions or anything. I was just telling you what I thought. And so that masculine TI gets blasted, and any consume from the tribe on that point is usually, if it's on autopilot, is low. Now, when I'm working with my team or my kids one-on-one, it becomes a little different because now I'm actively trying to read their face, their body language and everything else, and be like, okay, where is dad, or where is supervisor maybe overstepping or not stepping enough? But yeah, for sure. Consume last for me is probably my biggest issue. And that's why I think in high school, because I wasn't consuming what was going on with other people, and I didn't care, it was kind of like what Marco was saying earlier. You've created this path and you get people out of the way, and then you just go forward and do it. It's like good.
No, that makes sense. And like with SF consume first and then followed by the double tribe, like it's just like a wave at me. Like I can't get away from it. And so it's really bogs me down majorly. But I'm wondering for other people with the consume, because I know in the I don't know if anyone else will relate to this because no one else will sleep last, but Kendrick, I remember in the EJ interview you did, Julia was talking about the role of consume, especially with the info DOMs and the sleep last, of like how we try to portray an image of themselves to other people, like craft that image. And so I don't know if anyone else relates to that or if that really is just a sleep last info DOM thing.
So I guess Julien is the fellow info, like, oh, it's funny that all the ISFPs are the info DOMs in this panel. But
I know, right?
Yeah. Well, I guess Julien, you're the only guy, so maybe you can answer Shelby's question.
I think I need to like a little bit more clarity about what it means to craft an image of yourself to present. Is that like tailored to each individual person, or is that just tailored for a tribe, or is that just this is how you want yourself to come across to anybody?
I think to anyone, like kind of like that, like the theory of like chameleoning, you know, like you are adapting to your surroundings. So you are telling other people in words or not words, like this is how I want you to see me. And so I don't know if that makes a little bit more sense.
I think so. I think I agree with that, but it's an interesting thing because I don't do that like in this form of like an online type of thing. I feel like I do that in person when I'm around other people in their physical space. But on here, like it's just I'm just like pure play last and IP, right? And it's not great, but in person, I feel like I can kind of chameleon and feel like oh, I'm going to kind of try to be more funny or cool or whatever.
Yeah, I saw Julien yesterday in person, right? So he was definitely doing that play quite a bit yesterday, you know. That's anyone. So I guess Shelby's question is directly for the info dominance. But Yvonne, when you asked your question earlier, I don't think everyone answered already. Does anyone hasn't gotten a chance to answer Yvonne's question earlier, like Tamara or Caroline, or I think Marco hasn't either? Or you can repeat your question, Yvonne.
Sorry. Oh, what was it? I was asking you to reveal your deepest, darkest childhood secrets. No, no, I was just saying, like, do you have any story you'd like to share about, you know, when you were growing up and you went from thinking you were like hot shit, you know, being like a DI kid, to like realizing maybe that you didn't fit in, and like, was there, you know, an insecurity about that for you, and like, what did you do maybe to like did you try to fit in because of that or anything?
Yeah. I guess so. Maybe I just went and started hanging out with like weirder and weirder people. But like, I mean, it was definitely so, like, especially now that you mention it, very like common theme of like, oh yeah, wait, this like it's like getting exercised from a group or something, extricated, I'm not sure, but then like not really knowing what's happening, and just like I have this memory of like me as a, anyway, just like running next to another kid, but like feeling like I'm inside a bubble and not even, I have no understanding of this person whatsoever. Like a very vivid like memory of that. I just like so disconnected from like the tribe. But yeah, and just like not really knowing why, and being like, yeah, I think I wasn't bullied, but I was definitely like not as hot shit as I thought I was. Yeah.
I just want to make one comment before you guys continue on.
Yeah, okay. I'll chip in as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
Being consumed last, I mean, I thought I was the shit until the day I started consuming my environment. And that probably didn't hit until age 11, 12, 13. Like when puberty hit, all of a sudden you think about fitness and stuff like that, and mating, and you start comparing. And once you start comparing, all of a sudden you see like, oh, maybe I'm not as great as I thought, and stuff like that. So I was certainly in that bubble until really, really late. So long story short, that's definitely been my experience.
Tamara?
Yeah, when we talked about this, like I remembered as a teenager, I was very interested in music and like new bands, or like both new bands that were new and music that was new to me. Like, and yeah, I actually remembered like once when I was 13 or something, and we had this, not Walkmans because I'm not that old, but I don't know what we had, CD players or cassette or something. And I asked my friend, oh, listen to this song, it's like really good. And I don't know what it was, but she was like, well, no, what's this? And that was like a heartbreak moment, like, okay, but I can't really share this with anyone because they won't understand anyway. So yeah, so maybe my FI got offended, and okay, but this is just for me, this is my personal consume, what bands I listen to, and okay, someday I'll find my tribe, and like the thing we've been talking about before, but this is not a time. Yeah.
So I'm listening to you guys talk, and there's like a huge difference between TI and FI in terms of like being the best, you know, like with the TI, it seems like you guys want to be the best through performance and whatnot. But the FI, it's like being unique, different, or authentic. So it's like standing out, but from a different perspective. So I don't know if you guys noticed that, but I just like listening to you guys talk, and I noticed that Shelby, though, she's sleep last. So with Shelby, you look like you're kind of TI-ish. Like you also want to be the best. Only because the NF sleep is unprocessed, you know. So maybe that would change once you start using the NF sleep, and maybe you'll lean more towards the other FIs as well. That's just my observation from you guys. Let's Marco, Klaus, Tamara, and Caroline, who wants to ask the next question?
Okay, I can come with a question, and it's about how you go towards romantic relationships and your DI and how you settle that essentially. Like, for example, I was 7 years in a relationship, and I felt like the identity I created was I'm going to be a dad essentially in this relationship. So I became that identity, and part of becoming identity, I lost my identity in a way, becoming so DE like, because that was the identity I thought was required. So I almost over-sacrificing, self-sacrificing in a sense, at least that's how it felt. It might not have been perceived that way from others, but that was my experience. So my question is, how do you guys feel about that identity shift from being single to being in a relationship?
I'll start.
Yeah.
I don't feel like my identity has changed or it's been usurped or anything like that. I do think, though, it's just forced me to DE more. And especially, so my wife is, she's an ENFP, so she's got that FI. And what I've noticed is, it doesn't have to be this way per se, but for me to feel good about it, I want to make sure I'm meeting her FI needs. And so I don't look at it as my identity shifting. I just look at it more as I'm going to use a little bit more FE, and I'm going to TI my way to her FI. So for example, she loves dance. So a couple of years ago, I set up a whole dance shoot. So we went out to a winery, local winery. We did a tango shoot because she loves the tango, she loves to dance. And then I got one of my favorite pictures, I got it blown up and then painted because she likes those types of paintings. And so I didn't see it as like me having to change my identity all to be able to do that for her. I was able to TI my best way that I knew how to get all those things done and then do that. And that's a bigger example, but it's just, I don't know. I feel like my kids can see what I TI and they can either like it or not like it, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, they know I'm going to DE for them. And so it's not about changing my TI. It's just about using the FE more for me.
I just have a point as well. Maybe with Marco, like it's because your TI is feminine that maybe you feel your identity shifts more easily through change of circumstance in your life. You kind of might mold yourself more to the role you think you should be portraying.
I see what's required in the situation and I build identity that fits that situation essentially.
Yeah, because for me, I don't really relate to that. I mean, maybe when I was a bit younger, but no, like especially with relationships, yeah, I don't feel like I changed my identity. I feel like for me, it's more so just like fear of vulnerability. I know that that's not really related to the question, but just fear of vulnerability. And yeah, it takes me a long time to like open up to someone, you know, that I'm seeing. And, you know, it's like, you know, that picture of an orange and then you like peel a bit of it and there's another orange peel underneath it. That's how I like feel getting into like new relationships or whatever. But yeah, like regarding trying to be someone I'm not for the relationship, not really, no. Maybe initially like I wanted them to like really be happy with me or whatever, and like yeah, but no, not really shifting my identity. I don't know if anyone else has like experience with that or.
Well, I guess like that goes back to what I was talking about earlier. Like I remember I'm married now, but when we were dating, I definitely did try to, you know, portray a certain image to my now husband because I wanted him to like me and to fall in love with me, and it worked. And then we got married, but I don't think now either of our identities have really changed. But like you were saying, Nathan, we definitely just have to focus more on the DE too, because he's TI. So we both have that same issue of not DEing enough.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I relate to you there. I think in the initial phases of a relationship, like I do want to like impress them, I guess, and put my best foot forward in that way. But yeah, I still kind of try to stay true to my DI and all that, you know.
Yeah, like at the end of the day, your TI is still going to win out.
Yeah.
And they're not going to force you into something you're not.
Yeah, but I think relationships are amazing learning experiences. Like they really do show you, I guess, that like how important it is to do the DE as well. And like there has to be that balance if you want a relationship to be successful and everything. So yeah.
It's interesting because I think Yvonne, Shelby, and Nathan, you all have like double masculine saviors. And because I feel quite different, I feel like I can mold myself, and I intentionally try to mold myself into whatever it is. It's kind of fun in a way to like try to be whatever and fit and try and see which ways me and this person can fit and how I can like grow to sort of fill their voids in a way. But it never really works, but it's fun to try. I don't know.
So, Caroline, you don't feel like you're like betraying yourself or anything by doing that?
I think I feel like I'm exploring more of myself in a way, but just like seeing what I can be, or like seeing how my identity, like, oh, how does this feel? Like, oh, like, I don't know, like
So you're just not locked on to like one or SI concept of yourself, SIF.
Yeah, I think the SI is more clear, but then the FI is not really. It's more just like, oh, my FI is that I like to feel a lot of different ways, and I will just like, I don't know, if someone wants something, then maybe that would be fun. I don't know, like for me to play out this archetype that they're seeking, that sort of thing. Because yeah, I guess that just brings on lots of different emotions, and that's fun sometimes.
Is it kind of like you're trying on like different vibes almost just to kind of learn about yourself, maybe like different aspects about yourself, or just kind of for fun to see like what you can, how you can connect with them through that vibe? Or
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think seeking connection largely. Yeah, and also having fun, I guess. Yeah.
Do you feel like you can only do so much of it though before, you know, it starts
To where?
and yeah.
Yes, and then I go hyper into like FI mode, where like, I don't know, it's like I just like combust. I don't know, maybe I'm just spitting bullshit right now, but I feel like that's what happens. Yeah, so I think yeah. Sorry, what was the question? Sorry.
I don't really remember what we were talking about, to be honest.
Relationships.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Julien and Tamara, I guess, or Klaus.
Yeah, I'm happy to speak on this topic. I find that I've been in a relationship for the last 2 years with a girl who's pretty opposite from myself, and I think that has been an extremely valuable experience. And I agree with a lot of the other people here that it's a really learning experience, and a lot of it is not so much reducing the DI as it is increasing the DE, which kind of effectively reduces the time spent in DI. And I think automatically I am very DI centric. I'm like a super IP in the sense that I'm happy to just be in a room by myself for days, you know, and just not not look after anything for anybody else but myself. And it takes effort for me to pull myself out of that and to think like, okay, how am I gonna help these people in the house, or how am I gonna help these people over here? And being in a relationship has really helped me in that case, especially with a girl who's a lot more opposite than me and a lot more communicative, and she can kind of call me out on my BS, and I can be like, oh, okay, that's all right, yeah, you're right. And my DI is strong enough to not be moved by that or to be offended by that, and to just be like, oh, okay, yeah, no, you're right. And as for the DI itself, I think that I have this core DI that is not going to be moving, and that has to line up with the partner that I'm with. You know, once you start finding out like, oh, our values really are different here, that doesn't really work. But there's really just a few things. For everything else, I kind of resonate with what Caroline's saying, in the sense that I'm willing to move my interests and explore new interests and do different things and spend my days in different ways than I normally do, for the sake of, well, why not? And also connection. You know, it's like, well, I'm willing to explore that because maybe I really enjoy that actually, and let's see where this can go. And if the core values are similar and resonating, then it's great, you know. And if you're with someone, at least in my case, if I'm with somebody who can pull out the DE for me and kind of make it so that my DI is less overwhelming, then I think that just makes me a better version of myself. And I feel like I'm the best version of myself when I'm in a relationship with somebody who is kind of opposite, who can temper my addictions to personality.
All right, Tamara?
Yeah, for me, it's like, I resonate a lot with what you said, Julien, about I can just spend time with myself forever. But relationships, like I found type in like a traumatic breakup many years ago. And I don't think it was a coincidence. Yeah, relationships for me have really been like, and now my NF Blast will come out, this spiritual opening almost like, but then it's also like, it seems like on this worldly plane, it's often not meant to be. Like the last relationship I was in, it was, I just couldn't, like we're back at compromise. Like I just couldn't compromise. I would have had to get married, and I just don't want to get married. And yeah, it's like, I can't just enter a religious framework again. I feel like I'm free of all these external belief systems, and I can't just re-enter that. And it's like, yeah, there's certain things I can't compromise on. And then, I mean, yeah, I learned so much in this relationship, and it was also the spiritual opening and have blast. And now I forgot where I was going with this. I learned a lot. Yeah, but it's often like, it's not meant to be. Like I live this digital nomad lifestyle, which is another thing I can't yet compromise on. And I don't know if I ever can. It's more like, again, like I will have to find someone where I can bring that on board with my TI. I cannot get on board with that. I can't, it's like, I mean, I could, but then I'm losing like this part of myself that is so essential to me that I'm like negating myself. And yeah, I think, I mean, I don't know, I could look at it from both sides. It could be healthy to to make my masculine ST move a bit. I feel like I did a lot of that already in certain contexts, but there's some things, if I compromise on them, it's like the other person will be poorer for it because I will blame them for something that is not their fault. It's just me making decisions in line with who I am.
You know, Klaus, if I didn't have a really good partner, I would be living your life for sure. You have an awesome life. Yeah. Tamara?
Well, I don't know what to say that has been said already, really, but yeah, I mean,
Your perspective.
My perspective. Okay, these past years I haven't like been focusing so much on relationships, like all kinds of relationships, actually. I guess I've never had as few friends as I have at the moment. I've never been more at home than I am now. Sorry. And yeah, I guess it's partly because most of my friends that are around my age have small children. And of course, we can still meet, and we still meet sometimes, but it's not as often and not as spontaneous as before. And well, to be honest, like I get a little bit nervous around children. Like I'm afraid, like, okay, but are they gonna break something or put something in their mouth or something? And so it's I mean, in the beginning I was a bit sad about that, like what happens now? Do I have to like wait until all children grow up and then I'll get my friends back, or should I meet new friends without the kids who live like a life like I do? So but I mean, I'm strangely comfortable with this now, and I don't know, sometimes I wonder, like, am I going through like this okay, it sounds real silly, but like untaming process, like a cat. I don't know what it's called, like a feral cat that's like not around people. But no, I mean, it's I guess it has to do with age also. Like I don't have this like as much fear of missing out as I had before. So yeah, I guess I've been more comfortable in my IPness, and yeah.
All right, let's go to the next question. So I think Tamara, Caroline, and Klaus, you guys haven't asked any questions yet. So who wants to ask a question?
I have so many. How do I narrow it down? I need help in narrowing it down. I think I want to go down the, what was it? What I realized earlier. Yeah, I want to know, like, I realized like type has been like this, and it's probably similar for all of you. Type has been this opening for me. And it always sounds a bit woo-woo, but it's like, there's something spiritual about this. Or I don't know, I feel like there's a connection for me with like, with opening up to the world in completely new ways. For the longest time, I thought I was an INTJ, and just realizing that I have this baby FE, and actually focusing my attention there has been like so helpful. Like I got into a meditation practice called circling, which is like basically meditating with people. And I feel like, yeah, everything is like, there's a letting go of everything. Earlier we were talking about standards, and I was going, letting go of standards can also be so freeing. And I feel like this freedom in all parts of my life, like working on this FE and realizing I'm not as bad in it as I thought I was. Like I can actually be a facilitator for this meditation practice and actually be present with people, which as a consume first comes quite naturally to me. And then it's almost like I forget that I'm self-conscious around it and a little weird. And yeah, I would love to hear any stories where you feel like something has opened up for you. Yeah. When you heard me talk like that, I love hearing those stories. Like I feel like it's so helpful to realize stuff about yourself, and then you can let go a lot of the crap.
I can go. I really relate to that, because when I learned that I have little baby Effie at the bottom, it was like I was finally able to troubleshoot the actual problem, you know, which is a very INTP way to talk about it. But yeah, it's like I thought I was an ENFP, so that would have meant I was like demon, you know, thinking, and demon SI as well. And yeah, so I wasn't really able to get to the real root of, you know, where a lot of my pain was coming from, which is like you know, the FE and not processing emotions and, you know, fear of not being liked and all of that. So yeah, I think it's been almost spiritual for me too. Because now that I realize, you know, I'm TI at the top, so I am in my thinking mind most of the day, like 99% of the day. It's like now I'm consciously trying to tap into my FE and just like allowing myself to feel emotion for no reason, and to just like, I don't know, look around me when I'm walking on the streets and, you know, really try to imagine life from everyone's perspective around me. And yeah, that's something really spiritual, you know, just like getting out of my thinking mind, because I know now that that's my psychology framework, which I didn't know before. So yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah, I'll throw out an amen there. Baby FE, I have a lot of time in the car because I commute to work and back. And just the random emotion that would come up for no apparent reason that would drive me crazy for years and years and years. And I could never figure, well, why am I thinking about that? Or why am I feeling this right now? And then just, I had this conversation with Shan actually, because she does kind of something similar, I guess. And that's just letting the emotion flow and learning from it and just being present in the moment for it, rather than just trying to rationalize it away, and just allowing it to do its thing because I'm human and it's there for some reason, but not trying to TI the reasons and figure out why, but just letting the emotion come and then go, has been really interesting because it's allowed me over time to be a little bit more connected with my kids, especially my oldest, who's, I'm pretty sure, an FI, and just being able to be a little bit more empathetic, like you were saying, Yvonne, like just with other people. That's been kind of a big game changer. And then just learning about consume last and how horrible I am at consume and how hard that is to do. And man, how important it is to do, because I'll sleep for myself all day, but my blast play, or my play blast play is just ready to go. It's just like, it just wants that go from my sleep. And then I'm just going and going and going, and I don't stop. And learning about consume last has just been like crucial, because now it's like, you got to stop, dude. You got to slow down. You got to take in, you got to process, even though you hate it. And learning how that affects my family as well. Those two things I would say have been, like you said, Klaus, pretty spiritual in a way. Just like, oh wow, there's just this whole thing that's connected.
Yeah, and it can be pretty cringy when you first learn your type, because you're like, oh my god, like this is way too spot on, you know. But then once you integrate it and everything, it's just like you're such a better person for it. And you can really progress, because you just, you know, what you're truly missing out on and what you need to work on. So yeah.
Even though I'm FI, like being sleep last, I still relate to a lot of what the lead thinkers are feeling. Like, I don't want to process my emotions either. And so that's kind of been good for me. Like, once I've realized that I'm sleep last, like, it's like I've been given permission to do that. And once I do it, it's not that hard for me because I am FI. I just don't want to, because I'm always doing something else. So that's been big for me too. Like you were saying, Nathan, with an introverted function last, like I have to stop as well. And once I've done that and gotten more a hold of my FI and I, like everything else is kind of slowly starts to fall into place.
Yeah.
I knew I was doing it, but I didn't know to what extent I was messing up my life like that.
Right.
And do you like set time aside maybe to do the sleep processing because you know it's last then, or?
Yes, I make a conscious effort to do it. I'm still like kind of, you know, awkward and embarrassed about it, like sharing it with other people. You know, just like being an IP, like I don't want negativity. I don't, you know, like you were talking about, Yvonne, with the vulnerability, like I still don't want that, but like it is getting easier with me. Like even now I've been married for 4 years and I'm still like now I just leak out little things about me. I'm like, okay, does he still like me? So I don't know if it ever really gets easier for us to do that, but it's getting better.
I think it's like a muscle. I think it for me, it's like using the left hand because I'm right-handed. So it's like I can do a lot of things left-handed. The more you do it, the better you get at it, but it's still not the same as using my right.
Okay, so it still always feels a little off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think as well, sometimes like if I'm in mope mode and like I have to interact with people socially or whatever, it definitely can come across as just like awkward. Like my play just isn't, you know, up to scratch in that moment. And yeah, it's like a bit forced or whatever. But yeah. Yeah, it just kind of depends on your mood sometimes as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I like the description of like the spiritual experience with OP. I think I can understand, or at least my interpretation is, well, I wasn't that surprised by my type because I knew I was an INFP and my self type was very close to my official type. But like I think what drew me to this system first was I wanted to understand other people and like my place in the tribe, and yeah, I guess it's like a genetic code, like you get this or that, like a taxonomy. And yeah, I also thought about like, yes, spirituality, and it says in the Bible in one of those letters, like in a church, for example, we are different limbs, like one is the hand, one is the knee, but the knee doesn't have to do what the hand does. And yeah, I thought, okay, but this is something that is like imprinted in us. And yeah, for a long time, I saw my FI as a deficiency, like, okay, I am this FI person because, well, I'm lazy and I haven't developed my T side, and I have to do that, or otherwise, like, I can't, like, I'm not allowed to be, or I can't come to use for the tribe. But like when you see this whole spectrum with types and they are all so different, it's like, okay, but this isn't like random. It isn't like we all have these different deficiencies and flaws. It's just that I see it more like there's an order and everyone is needed, and it's okay. Like you really aren't any worse or better than anyone else. So it's kind of like, yeah, maybe that is my DE moment there.
Yeah, I like the way you put that, definitely, that like we all do serve a purpose.
Yeah.
And yeah, like no one's deficient, you know. Yeah, like if one personality type was missing, like, you know, yeah, it would just, yeah, I don't know, like the system might mess up or whatever. So yeah.
Okay, guys, so let's get the last bit of questions here for the sake of time. So I think it's Tamara and Caroline. You guys don't, you guys are the last two. So I'm gonna get both of you to ask your questions at the same time, and and then like not like exactly at the same time, but you know,
go.
but yeah, but you know, you get what I mean. So just both of you will take turns asking your questions, and then we'll get everyone to answer them. Okay, so Tamara, let's go with you first to ask your questions, and then Caroline, you'll ask your questions as well. Okay, so Tamara, go for it.
So my question is directed towards those of us who have a TI. So like I find myself like clashing with the TI a lot, and there's this saying like we have like the most difficult relationships with those who are only slightly different than us, and I can recognize myself in this like very stubborn DI, but I've tried like for many years like to really try to understand like the essence of this TI FE axis, and like the closest I've come to, I think, understanding it is there was one person in our group who said, I don't remember like literally, but it was like as a TI, I want to be right and I want others to be happy, while for FIT it's like I want to be happy, it doesn't matter who's right or wrong. Do you feel like that's a fair description, or how do you see your TI differing from FI?
Don't answer that yet, guys. Caroline, let's get your question and then we'll get everyone to answer.
Okay. My question is, do you think that you are competitive? And if so, in what sense? 'Cause for myself, I don't really see myself looking too much out into the TE, how other people do things. And then when I do, it's like shocking, kind of. Like, oh, I can learn things here. Well, yeah, so how do you feel in that regard?
All right, guys. So TIs, you get a two-part questions, and then the FIs, you get a one-part question. So who wants to jump in first?
Oh.
Nathan, I guess. Go for it, man.
Blast, baby. Yeah, so first question. Yeah, I do. It's a nasty thing. I do feel like I want to be right, but I want to make sure everyone's cool with that and feeling good about that and jiving with that. And so it's tough because, like I said, my TE, even though she's demon, my TE wife will constantly remind me that's not working for everyone, and it's got to TE work for everyone. And if it doesn't, we've got a problem. So that's where I've got to kind of humble myself a little bit and just be like, okay, how do I rework this? Because and that's where kind of what I was getting at the beginning is like my TI gets offended constantly because my wife's TE is just like, nope, doesn't work, redo it. But yeah, I mean, ultimately I want everyone to be able to jive together, at least in my little tribe. And then the second question, Kendrick and I actually kind of talked about this too in our interview, but yes, super competitive. But what I found, even though I'm competitive with outside, I'm most competitive with myself. And I think that's probably the SI. Yvonne, you can chime in and tell me what you think about that too. But I do want to see myself like as better than others. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if I'm not better than myself over time, that's when I get pissed off. Because I'm setting that bar for myself. And that's mostly in the physical realm. So again, lifting weights, with my job, doing whatever. When it comes to the NF stuff, that bar is very fluid. It can move up and down. And that's probably because I'm double feminine NF. But yeah.
All right, Yvonne, you want to jump in?
Yeah, I'll chime in. So just to answer the first question, it was related to, sorry, what was it again about TI and FI? Like,
yeah, TI, like yeah, I'm trying to understand it, and it's like
trying to understand it. Okay, yeah. Well, I think sometimes, I guess it's confusing for FI because sometimes we just want to get to the bottom of things for the sake of it, like just maybe for the mental stimulation of it and to know what's objectively true. Whereas FI, you know your preferences and your likes and your dislikes and what you value and stuff. So it's like, it might seem really abrasive when we come in and we're just like, you know, trying to logic things out, that you have like a certain moral stance on, I guess, you know, if we start poking holes in your logic. But it's like sometimes it's because we don't have FI ourselves, and like sometimes we don't have a certain stance on the thing. We're just like debating just for the objective truth, and we don't mean to like hurt others for it. You know what I'm trying to say? Like it's just like, you know, like the thinker thing to just like bang blocks to see, you know, what works and what's true and all of that. I don't know, it's and then yeah, it's like for me, I just want to get to the truth of things, because I think on the FE spectrum the truth can like help everyone kind of like elevate and be better and stuff like that, you know, instead of like living in delusion land, you know, where we're kind of like fooling ourselves, you know. I don't know, that's just like my take on it, kind of, or that's like my description of it. And then for the competitiveness, I think since I'm blast last, I'm very just like, you know, like I'm not that competitive really, you know. But then I think, Nathan, as you were saying, it's like it's more so the competitiveness with self that I experience, and then if it's in a realm I care about, I guess, I will want to be the best at it. Yeah, like I might be kind of competitive in that way, but it's more so just like self standards once again. Yeah, I don't know if Marco, you have anything to say on that since you're TI as well, or your sound is off.
I'm very sorry. Just a second. I have something urgent. so sorry. I'm actually following what you guys are saying. So to the TI part is TI to the FE is my FE is the part that gives me the meaning, so to speak. So that's actually the core of everything, is the FE. All purpose derives from the FE, essentially. So the TI is really kind of irrelevant, but that's kind of my operating system. That's kind of how I function. So it's a troubleshooter and that tries to make sense of everything, and like a tool, ready to serve in a sense. So that's how my TI-FE dynamic works. Like that's the.
Oh, there.
There's something happened. It's because people are calling to me on the phone. Just a second. I'm sorry. If somebody else can take over for a second. And
Klaus, do you want to jump in, Klaus?
Yeah.
Sure. So TI-FI. I was thinking about my my former self. You were talking about an operating system, Marco, and I was like, yeah, it feels like I was very, like, another question I had was about superiority complex. And like, I feel like I had that. Like, I thought my opinion was the best opinion. And I was very attached to that masculine TI. And I feel like it's helped me so much to let go of that as well. It's like like at a certain point, you let go of your type, I feel like. And maybe that's peacocking, or I don't know, but it's like, yeah, where am I going with this? I guess like, I see a lot of that TI. Well, I see two TIs. I see the TI that is like very attached to its opinion. And that's probably what gets you triggered, I would guess, Tamara. And then it's like, there's also like, yeah. And I guess I'm like over focusing now on my experience, but like, there's a lot of like, there's an attachment to the T thinking. And yeah, so it's almost like, that's then where the clash is. Like it appears, well, it partially appears like there's like, yeah, now I lost it. It appears, yeah, but what Yvonne was saying already, like it appears like you are like, we just want to understand. We want to understand things, and that sometimes appears like we want to like not negate feelings, but we want to understand the feelings. And then it's like, I don't know if any one of you saw before, like with the nail in the head, like it's like you're trying to point at, oh, there's a nail in the head, let me fix that for you in the thinking way. But it's really just more about wanting to be heard, like wanting to be heard on your feelings. And it's not about the nail in the head. It's about like the feeling side of things. And yeah, and the second, Caroline's question I want to answer just with a quote by Jordan Peterson. Compare yourself, don't compare yourself to others, compare yourself to who you were yesterday.
So I guess Shelby and Julien for the competitive question.
Yeah, well, I'll speak to the first question too, because my husband is ISTP. He's Yvonne, but with SE. And so it's funny, Tamara, your question, because we are very similar. I mean, there are slight differences, but we are very similar. And like, I think that makes us clash a lot. So it's been, you know, pretty challenging in that regard. But one big difference I see, and Yvonne, you touched on this too, like he pokes holes in his masculine TI pokes holes in my demon feminine TE. And I'll just kind of like go with it. I'm like, hey, whatever, I don't care. I'm not gonna argue with that. But like I'll change my reasons so much and he like can't keep up. He's like, wait, you said this and now your logic is this. And I'm like, yeah, it doesn't matter. Like I changed my mind. What does it matter? And that's like kind of our arguments over and over again. So I don't know where I was going with that, but I'll move to the next question. Caroline, yes. So because I'm like double activated masculine SE, like I'm very competitive in SE, but I kind of like, the more experience I get, the more I see that it's all crap. And so I can kind of check myself, like if I'm, you know, wanting to be the best at a certain thing, I know that it's not attainable and I'll never get there. But yeah, definitely competitive.
Yeah, maybe it's actually where, or like the functions that are masculine, or just like your savvy functions, that's where you're like most competitive, I guess.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, Julien.
Yeah, I'm also going to speak to the first question as well, and just say that I find TI oftentimes refreshing. Actually, I don't often clash with the TI. It's almost like an exotic animal that can't really clash with me because I don't fully comprehend what it's doing. And so it's almost like observing something outside of my own world. While I do clash with FIs a lot because I understand how that system operates. And when I see immense immaturity in FI, that makes me feel uncomfortable or cringe, or just, you know, it makes me feel like, I don't know what's going on here. And then it becomes even more personal because it's an FI conversation in which, you know, it's like my FI versus your FI, who's going to budge, right? If we're trying to figure out whose value we're going to follow right now. And that can be challenging, but ultimately I would say that it just comes down to maturity or immaturity. I think anybody who's immature in their function use is toxic to be around, and anybody who's mature is refreshing to be around. And as for competitiveness, I actually used to think I wasn't competitive. I deluded myself into thinking I wasn't, but I had a lot of people point out to me that I'm extremely competitive, actually. Even small board games and little dumb things, I'll be extremely competitive with other people, and also with myself too, and wanting to be better than myself, and like resonating with what Nathan said about beating himself up if he's not getting better. I think Nathan said that. I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but you know, just feeling bad if you're not actually actively improving yourself over the years. But yes, competitive. And yeah.
All right, guys. So I want to, the final part of this panel interview is I want to do something interesting. I want you guys all to EJ, okay? So I want you guys to use blast and play. Now, this is super cool because everyone here, like Yvonne and Nathan, are almost opposites, right? Like Nathan has consume last and Yvonne has blast last. And then Julien has play last, and Shelby is double activated play, but Shelby sleep last. The only one that's not opposite is Tamara and Caroline. You guys are very similar, actually. So I'll ask you guys a different question, but I want you guys to use your blast and play to coach your opposite. So Nathan, I want you to give Yvonne tips on how to blast better, and Yvonne, I want you to give Nathan tips on how to consume better, and Julien, I want you to give Shelby tips on how to use NF sleep, and Shelby, I want you to give Julien tips on how to use your ST play, and then Marco, teach Klaus how to do the NF blast, and then Klaus teach Marco how to use the ST consume. And then for Tamara and Caroline, you guys are a little bit different. You guys are really close, right? So the only thing you're different is one of you is OI, one of you is OE. So I guess Caroline, you could teach Tamara how to be more open to new experience, and Tamara can teach Caroline how to be like more organized and not so scattered. So who wants to go first? Like don't go too crazy about this. Just give them a quick tip, guys.
I want to go first.
Okay,
if that's all right. Keep the ball rolling here.
Yeah.
For one, I just want to say that Shelby probably knows more about life in general than I do. So I would never actually give Shelby any advice in real life. But as for NF sleep, what it is, it's you're projecting, and this is my opinion at least, you're projecting how am I going to feel if this situation happens, or how am I going to feel in the future over here? And you're just going over that in your mind. Well, I mean, I do it all day, but I mean, if someone wanted to practice it, they could just do it for 15 minutes and say like, oh, if I was in this situation, how would that make me feel? Like if this person, if I got in an argument with this person about this stupid thing, how would that make me feel? Or if that person broke up with me, how would that make me feel? And what would I do? And how would that progress? And you go through like a whole timeline kind of thing like that. I think that to me is what NF sleep is doing most of all.
Okay, thank you. Julien, for the play, I'd say just always keep an open mind and don't just go into a conversation like wanting to get your point across, like hearing someone else, and it doesn't matter what they say, doesn't matter if you agree with it, if you're, FI vibing with it, just like go with it and see where it leads you. And yeah.
Awesome,
Thank
guys.
Thank you.
All right, let's go with Yvonne and Nathan next. So who wants? I guess Nathan, you can go first since you're the blaster here.
Oh, thank you so much. All right, so Yvonne, the two biggest things I can say about blast. One, when you have an idea, don't think it through too hard. Don't consume too much. Just go do it. And then skib a little bit. I mean, you've got some skib tendencies with consume play, so go skib and learn as you go. Even though I have got consume last, I've learned just by getting started most of the time, I get through something. And then two, with the blast, I would say, be willing to expose, for lack of a better term, your TI, and just go talk to somebody about something, teach them something, and then go start mandating something. Even if it's something super small with somebody that is, a friend or family member, and just start working that SF blast to make somebody's life better, even if it's in a really, really just small way. Just do it.
Good advice. Yeah. For me, it's a good. I wasn't expecting this, Kendrick.
And I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, it's good. For consume last. See, I feel like I still don't have, like, I'm still not content with my understanding of like the animals and stuff. So I guess I'll just go off of what I know so far. But I guess what I can say for consume, it's like yours is NT. Just to be intrigued by everything in the world, and like I don't even, it's so natural to me, it's hard to even describe what I even do. But it's like try to see it in a way that like the more you consume, the more correct your Ti-Si framework of the world will be. Like let that motivate you to be open-minded and to gathering information about from other people around you. And yeah, I don't know, it's yeah, that's the best I can do so far. Blaster thumbs.
Blaster thumbs up. Okay.
Yes.
Marco, what would you say to Klaus? How can Klaus use that NF blast? You're muted, by the way, so go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did I unmute myself?
Oh.
I'm here, right?
Yeah, you're good.
I'm good. So when I do NF blast, it's about moving to the people in your tribe. It's about how to move your tribe. And how do you move your tribe? It's being the ideal, the NF ideal of what they need to become, what they need to reach. The standard you set is the tone you set for them, and that's how you motivate them to elevate themselves in a sense. So that's how I do my NF blast. I lead by example.
Yeah, that's a good
one. All right.
Okay, I'm going to try and incorporate that right now.
Okay, good.
My blast class. Okay. Let me see. I would say that there is a wisdom in the present moment, just taking in things as they are. And there's like a slowing down in that. And like, it's almost like you stop speaking from here and speak more from here. And yeah, I feel like, yeah, as a consume first, like realizing that I'm actually good at that and just taking in the things as they really are. I forget about that TI chatter a bit and just enter another layer of connection.
I like that. I get what you're saying. I agree. That's good advice.
All right, Tamara and Caroline. So, you know, who wants to go first?
Okay, who goes first?
Yeah, you're both blast last, so this is gonna be tough. But someone has to go first, guys. Let's go with Tamara then. You go first.
Okay. Well, Kendrick said like how to be orderly. I can't teach you that because I'm not orderly at all. Unfortunately, I wish I was. But I guess like I have like very balanced between old and new, like both like information and like stuff that I use during the day, ideas, like you don't have to like always take in new ideas. Sometimes you can go over old ones and see if you have forgotten something, because that happens often for me. Like I try to like solve a problem, and I have to have I feel like I have to have a new solution. But then I remembered, well, actually I read this book like 5 years ago, and it was exactly about this, and it helped me so much. So I go back to that book, and okay, it's not as exciting to have an old solution, but it can be very useful to like remember what worked in the past. Often it works in the present as well, and in the future. Yeah, I hope you understood what I meant. Okay.
All right, Caroline, what do you have something to say to Tamara?
Okay, well, I think that was really good advice. Oftentimes it's really hard for me to remember things. So that would make things a lot easier. The advice for you probably is, so I have a lead SI friend, so I'm just sort of basing this on this, but perhaps maybe, oh God, I hate this. Okay, sorry. Perhaps like, I don't know, like being more open to exploration in like the NT, or being more open to like jumping to new possibilities, and like perhaps just not doing SI. So what I recommend is don't do SI, don't do your dishes only do your dishes like after like 3 days or something. Whatever SI that you do, don't do it, okay? And then just go and like find someone and harass them with new ideas, and just make up a completely false story and tell it to them as if it happened yesterday, and then just make them laugh. And then I don't know, something like that. I'm not sure. I don't know. The NE, like maybe don't get rid of some SI, I would say would be one thing, maybe. And then you'll have more room for NE. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good advice, Caroline. It's very high play advice, which is great. So I think, yeah, sorry guys, I know some of you felt uncomfortable having to DE and give your other person like a tip. But I don't know if you guys noticed, but when you were giving the other person the tip, they were really like interested to hear what you have to say. So there is like you guys have a lot to offer the tribe. But you just have to be willing to share what you have, what advice you have for that person. And part of that is like looking at that other person, seeing, okay, what are they like? The good thing about OPS, it's obvious to see what, you know, what we're good at, what we're weak at, right? Like it's obvious, like, okay, blast last, consume last, whatever. So, but like as an IP, if you guys like take in the other person and understand them and see what their weaknesses, and then you give them a tip, even if it's like a small tip, oh my God, everyone loves you. You know, like
you're teaching us how to DE.
Yeah, no, everyone loves you. Like you just did it, you guys did it a little bit, and I can see like when you guys were doing it in pairs, the other person was like, oh yeah, come on, like I want to hear this, you know, especially because you guys are like opposites, like, you know, one's jumper, one's standard. So obviously the other person knows you more than anyone because you're like almost the same, just like a little bit opposite, right? So thanks guys for coming out and doing this panel interview. And again, I want to compliment you guys again, and that I appreciate you all for being so easy to work with and to organize this. This has been like the easiest panel for me to organize, which is like I never saw it coming as like, oh, IP, I assume it was gonna be like maybe challenging, but nope, you guys have been fantastic. So really appreciate all you guys. And thanks for coming out. Yeah.
Thanks,
we don't want any issues with the tribe, so we'll be easy.
No tribe hate.
Yeah.
We like to talk about ourselves. So.
Yeah.
What's that?
We like to talk about ourselves anyway. So
yeah, it's like, oh, platform, yay.
Yeah. That wasn't obvious at all, was it?
No, just a little bit though.
Yeah, just a little.
Yeah. Thank you for organizing. This was fun.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really fun.
Yeah, thanks.
I feel like I learned a lot from it.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
We'll rewatch this.
All right, I'll stop the recording now. So bye everyone.
Bye.
Bye.